One of my favorite sayings is, it takes 1,000 nights to become an overnight success. If you need to keep proving it to yourself and you need to keep putting in those reps and just proving to yourself that you can do it, that is going to outperform any morning affirmations in the mirror, because it's genuinely providing your brain with that evidence.
Once I started making more money, I started opening Pandora's box and buying a bunch of stuff that I never could buy in my childhood because I was like, I stayed at a candy store. I was like, I have the means and the ability to buy this now. And I still felt so empty inside. I felt actually emptier because these things that I thought would make me happy would give me a dopamine hit when I checked out or bought it online, and then it would arrive and I'd be like, that's cute, and then I'd forget about it. And so really, happiness really does come from within.
Women, we are underfunded, we are underpaid, we don't ask for enough, we don't demand enough. It's not on us, it is the system, it's not our fault. But my life's mission, my legacy, in some shape or form, is more women to get more money.
Yes, period. This is the real of building a conscious business. The hard-earned lessons, unfiltered truths, and impactful guests. Welcome to Confessions of a Conscious CEO. I am so excited about this episode because I got to sit down with my dear friend, Stephanie, and she is the ex-CEO of an award-winning marketing consultancy. She is also ranked as one of the UK's most influential female founders. With expertise in entrepreneurship and a passion for feminism, Stephanie now hosts the UK Top 20 business show, Strategy and Tragedy, advises MBA students in entrepreneurship with One Day, and continues to serve as a VC scout for early-stage venture capital firm Ada Ventures. She lives in London with her partner and is a big sister both literally and metaphorically, the role she is proudest to play in her life. This was such a great discussion. We dive deep into money, starting a business, the role of luck, what success really means. And throughout it all, Stephanie is super vulnerable and candid about her lessons learned in the real, which I am so grateful. I'm really excited for you to take a listen. Before we dive in, I also wanted to share a brand new free course called GTM Essentials. If you are a startup founder and you are looking to grow and scale your business, this is going to be such a game changer, because in this free course with 12 bite-sized lessons, I will help you build and launch a business that actually sells without wasting your time or your money. We're going to talk about how you can identify and solve the right problems for your customers, create products and offers that people are actually excited to buy, build a brand that is able to command premium prices, and we will work together to create a sales funnel that works for you in the background so that you can have more consistent sales. And finally, we tie it all together by marketing and building a content machine that consistently brings you new qualified leads. I am incredibly proud of this free course. In addition to the 12 amazing lessons, you will also get a complimentary Notion workbook, and there are exercises you can work through to implement everything I'm teaching you. I have poured 15 plus years of building billion-dollar brands, as well as advising startups and scaling my own startups. Fast track your success, learn from my mistakes. You can enroll right now at selinaho.com/GTM-essentials. The link will also be down below for you as well. I can't wait to support you inside GTM Essentials. And without any further ado, let's get back to the episode. Welcome, Steph. I am so excited to have you come on Confessions of a Conscious CEO. I have known you for over a year, and it feels like forever because we've just, I feel like, gotten quite close. And so I am so excited to have you here today.
Same, we're super excited to be here as well. Thank you for having me on your show.
Okay, so you are doing so much. You are speaking on stages. You have your own podcast. You are advising MBA students. You are a VC scout to early stage startups. You are motivating female entrepreneurs. Just all the things. The list just goes on and on and on. I'd be here forever if I kept going. But I guess throughout all of that, I'm really curious, what is your definition of success like now?
I love that question. I'll obviously speak for myself, but for most of us, I think success is being in control of your own time, ultimately, right? And in a capitalist society, time equals money. And so I know that there's like the traps of like what success can look like on social media. You've got the materialism, you've got the money, the cars, the designer, whatever. But really it is about financial freedom. Like, I'm not going to sit here and be like, oh no, it's not about the money, because that's exactly what rich people say.
Yeah.
It 100% is about the money, because it's the freedom that the money enables you to achieve.
Yeah.
Freedom to leave a bad job, to leave a toxic relationship, to move countries, to own your own time, and to be able to call the shots when you wake up in the morning. That, I think, is the ultimate success, is that freedom. And I do believe that it is the money. If we're real, it's the money that buys that freedom.
Yeah, I agree. And so has your definition of that changed, or have you always been like, I need to have money to support myself? Is it just like a different view of looking at it?
I think one of the wonderful things about coming on a great podcast like this is like the questions that you ask create those prompts that for reflection that we don't often do, right? Like we're often just like on that hamster wheel, part of the grind. And this lovely question has prompted that reflection in me. And I genuinely do think, I feel like I need to be proven wrong with this, but I genuinely do think I always kind of knew that. I think I've always had, I think one of my earliest money memories, there is this research that shows that we start to develop a relationship with money at age 7. And part of how they test that is how far back you can remember, like what's your earliest kind of money memory. And I do actually think that really aligns perfectly with me. I think I was like 7 years old. And this really crystal clear memory that I actually have is, and this is definitely going to like show my age as a millennial, as a little girl in the 90s. I remember flipping through the pages of, here in the UK, we have something called Argos.
Oh, okay.
Which is just like catalogue, like shopping. It's just before online, right? Before the internet and e-commerce, like you just had like a catalogue to like flick through. And I remember, Selena, like crystal clearly, I remember so perfectly this pair of gold or like gold-plated dolphin earrings. I feel like I remember where it was even positioned, like on the page on this Argos catalogue. And I remember they were a £5. They were like £4.99.
Okay.
And I wanted to get them for my mum for either her birthday or Christmas. So that bit I'm a bit foggier on. I really wanted to buy her these dolphin earrings. This was like my earliest memory.
That's so sweet.
And I right. This is so cute. And I'm still very much like one of my love languages is gift giving, as it turns out. But I just remember that sensation. Obviously, remember those emotions and sensations more than anything else, right? And I remember that the yearning, it was like this deep I was like, oh, I really just really want to buy it. I was like, I'm so desperate. My mum's not even into dolphins. Like, I don't even know why. Like, it's not even a thing. But I just had this deep yearning of like, I really want to buy these earrings for my mum, my mummy. I want to give her a Christmas present. I want to be able to surprise her and make her happy. I remember all of those thoughts and feelings. And of course, what's linked to that, as a 7-year-old, I had no way of getting a £5. I was like, I don't know how I'm going to like get this money. And my parents didn't really do pocket money. We didn't really have that kind of growing up. It was more just, you know, we buy what you need. You don't need to be earning money for it. Yeah. I actually didn't like that. I actually wanted to be earning money. I was like, no, give me chores, give me things to do. Yeah. I want to be able to have that sense of agency. Yeah. So coming back to your original question of, has my definition of success changed in that sense? I would say, like, through that lens, that 7-year-old Steph knew that money could afford optionality, could afford freedom, could afford. And it wasn't even for me. I didn't even want those earrings for me. It was to buy them as a gift for somebody else. Yeah. And it was just something I wanted to do and not being able to do it. So I think that deep, that relationship I've had with money comes from that far back. And so that has transcended all the way through into my adult life, earning through jobs. I've always been very sensible with my money. If you can indulge me in another really quick, crazy story as well, another like crazy memory that's popped in my head as well. On the money thing, I remember the first proper job that I had in London, age 22. Oh my God, Selena, we had 1 week handover. So it was a job as an admin assistant in a design agency. I was on 15k a year, which after taxes translated to under £1,000. Like 900, well, say nothing, but like as entrepreneurs.
In London, like that doesn't get you very far.
It is nothing. I was earning less in the early days of an entrepreneur, so I'm not knocking.
That's fair.
That's fair. But you're right. But yeah, so I remember came down to just under £1,000, and I remember all my finances at that stage. I remember my rent was more than half of that, so it was like 550, 600. I remember because I was renting a shoebox room, flat sharing in zone 4. So I had a zone 1 to 4 travel card. This was when we still had Oyster before contactless. And I remember my travel card was like £120 per month. So like suddenly you're like, damn, I'm like stealing toilet rolls from my office to like, So anyway, so I remember this job started out as an admin assistant, 15K salary, new to that. It was the first time I was paying my own rent, first time like fully out there on my own, independent woman, doing it all by myself. And I had this 1 week handover with the girl who was doing the role before me. Particular story here is the Friday night, we had her leaving, her name's Ellie. We had Ellie's leaving drinks and my welcome drinks in is it called the Punch and Judy, the bar in Covent Garden. And I remember we were basically like head on over a bit earlier because the rest of the guys in the office, they still had a load of stuff to do. So like, we'll catch up with you. Like you guys go and head on before us. So we headed over there together. And we're both like girls, both similar age, both, you know, in our early 20s. And at the time, there was this unit in Covent Garden in like the main shopping centre that was an accessorize. And we popped in there because we still had some time. We popped into some shops before going to the bar. And I remember picking up, this is like very unique, specific memories that like I'm going to take to my grave. It's so crazy, the stuff, you know, this is going back like 15 years ago at this point, right? This pair of sunglasses, Selena, they were cat eye shaped. They were bright red. They were like 50s. And I was really leaning into like 50s vintage style back then as well. I had like big, like full skirts. Picked up these red pair of cat eye sunglasses, either £7 or £12, one or the other. Anyway, I remember trying them on, and maybe I even had red lipstick on at the time as well. So my friend Ellie was like, oh my God, you look amazing. Like, you should definitely get them. And I was like, no way. Like, no, like preposterous. Absolutely not. No way. I've just started my new job. And I was like, I'm on probation. I'm literally like first week into my job. And she just burst out laughing. She was like, Stan, and it's like other people's reactions that help you to sometimes get that perspective, right? And she was like, Steph, what the hell? Like, you're definitely going to pass your probation. Like, don't be an idiot. And I was like, nope, it is not worth the risk. Nope, not worth the risk. I'm not spending this like £7 or £12 on this pair of like cat eye sunglasses. So that's just kind of like another specific money memory. Obviously, that's a really extreme example, but it was like, absolutely not. I've got my rent to pay. I need to save up. Don't know exactly where that comes from because, you know, my parents never talked openly about money either. And of course, we don't get personal finances education at school. So I don't know where it comes from, but definitely that frugality, that sensible attitude of like, for me, it's like money is everything. Money is like, it's the roof over my head. It's the food I can put in my stomach. And squandering £7 on a pair of sunglasses is such a luxury I cannot afford right now.
Yeah. Well, thank you for sharing. Both of those stories are so powerful. I feel like also, though, with money, like you mentioned, we don't talk about it enough in society. It's so stigmatized. It's so taboo. And I'm wondering, throughout that experience, I think you were very conscious of your finances.
Yeah,
and I think that's amazing. And at the same time, I think you always knew what a powerful tool money was.
100%.
And I think that's so important because sometimes people, when they don't have a lot of money, they tend to avoid it.
Yeah.
And they tend to stick their head in the sand, and that's so dangerous.
Yeah, the worst
So
thing.
I think that's so amazing. I'm curious, though, throughout that, I noticed you always use the words like conscious, frugal, savvy with money. Do you feel like you ever were having like a scarcity mindset with it, or you feel like you were
100%.
always...
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm fully aware of that as well and how it's coming across with not feeling okay. Like her encouragement of buying the glasses, I was just like, the fact I've picked them up and put them on my face to try them on is like as far as it's going. And that was like black and white. I'm like, I am not even entertaining the idea of taking these to the checkout. And that has definitely changed in me, but it has taken time. We are so shaped by our backgrounds, by our upbringings. I always say, like, I have a fake posh accent, Selena. We were talking about the history of London before, right? My mum comes from Elephant and Castle. It's gone through this crazy gentrification now, but like, she was born in 1960, growing up as a child in the 60s, 70s. I mentioned to you about the Cray twins. That was only a decade or so before her. My grandparents saw people getting like shot and mugged and stabbed on their street. So that's Elephant and Castle on my mum's side of things. My dad is Sicilian. He came from a village in Sicily, which was like I know we're Europe and first world countries and stuff, but like this impoverished village in Sicily is like pretty close to the poverty line with where he grew up. I'm very aware of the privileges and stuff alongside that, but these are not overly privileged backgrounds. And so both my parents have a super strong work ethic.
Yeah.
They've worked so hard separately and together, pulled themselves up by their bootstraps. So yeah, like there's going to be some of that that's rubbed off on me. I see this much more now with a completely different lifestyle, living in London, surrounded by different people. It heightens that contrast even more so with where I come from and friends, family, people on the island as well. And again, how they view money. As much as it is healthy to have an abundance mindset and we need to avoid the scarcity mindset, really being real about it, you also need a certain level of being able to afford that. Like if you're stealing toilet rolls from your office, then a £7 pair of sunglasses is a luxury.
It's true.
So there does need to be a certain level of it's the Maslow hierarchy of needs, right? There needs to be a recognition of where are you at in your life at the moment. It is so emotional and it can be scary and it can be uncomfortable to look at it. But to your point, it's even worse if you don't look at it. It's not going to make it go away. It's going to make it even worse.
Yeah.
So do what you need to get that comfort. Check your accounts at least once a month. Get that familiarity. Just that's first, like step number one. Like get that clarity, that awareness with it. Once you are at a level where you are debt-free or you have the right type of debt, and you've got average benchmark is like 6 months savings. And then, you know, it's kind of like a video game. Once you kind of check off these sort of levels, then you can start looking at things like investing, different levels of risk tolerance with that, like ISAs, angel investing, stocks, shares, crypto. Like that's then a whole other game. But like you're never going to jump that far if you haven't paid your rent that month.
Yeah.
You know, so it's kind of easy to talk about abundance mindset when you're in a position of privilege to afford it.
Yeah, I agree. And I feel like we actually have very similar backgrounds and upbringings. So my parents are from China and then they immigrated to Canada with literally nothing.
Yeah,
My
wow.
dad had $100 in his pocket
Wow.
from one of his uncles. It was ripped, so that's why his uncle gave it to him. Like that's literally all they came with.
That's crazy.
And then it's like you see that immigrant work ethic and it just rubs off on me.
Yeah.
But similarly to you, I feel like growing up, money was always a bit tight. And then that just makes you very aware of it.
Mm-hmm.
And especially when you want things and you can't
Yeah.
buy it,
Yeah.
you feel so small.
Yeah.
And then you want to do anything you can to go out and get it.
I actually do see, like, I hear the negativity with
Yeah.
that, right? Of like the tightness, the making you feel small, the belittling power that can have. But I do genuinely, like, this can very easily be taken the wrong way, but I do genuinely see it as a positive because
Yeah, I think it shaped me
Right?
and like made me so hardworking
Right.
and so much more conscious of my finances.
Right.
But the thing I wanted to bring up is that initially I had been in a very scarce mindset where it was like, oh, I can't afford this or I can't afford that. But I actually think your view of looking at it is eventually how I moved into it, where it was just being very aware of everything.
Yeah.
And then the abundance piece kicks in where it's like, I can be living with my means and being very responsible about this, but at the same time, still be ambitious and try to make more. And I think that's the piece, like not getting stuck in this is my permanent, this is all I'm ever going to make, this is all I'm ever going to afford.
100%.
But
Yeah.
still having that
Yeah.
almost hope of being like, I can also go out and make more.
And the thing is, as much as there may be a lot of reactions to that sunglasses story of like, Steph, that was so extreme. And like, obviously you can pay like £7, however much it was on these pair of sunglasses. But what I've always been very acutely aware of is that it actually isn't about those £7 sunglasses. It's if I allow myself to buy those, I know it is going to be a never-ending cycle. It is going to be an itch that's never going to get scratched. I know that it's not going to just be those sunglasses. It's going to be the charm bracelet that I also saw. It's going to be something else like by the till that also, oh, my sister Maddie would love that. It's going to open the floodgates.
Pandora's box. Yeah.
And I know that even that is like, oh, okay, maybe that's coming from a place of fear. But like, genuinely it is, because I'm kind of like, well, if I want this, I'm going to want that. And I'm just very, very aware of like, opening up Pandora's box, as you say. And so just to your point on the progression that you can have, you don't need to stay stuck where you are. You will stay stuck if you fall into that consumerist, materialist mentality, because they're not investments.
Yeah.
One thing is, there is this whole kind of school of thought at the moment around, like, you should have bought those sunglasses. And like, that would have made you feel like badass. And that would have made you feel like your best self and super confident. But if you're really scrimping and saving and you're paycheck to paycheck, you're going to have to find that confidence boost from somewhere else.
Yeah.
That £7 sunglasses, those things that we didn't purchase, are in the same shopping bag with the nicer pasta, with the like fancy sauce that would have gone with it, with like, and that list goes on. And instead that's gone into the savings, building up that buffer. And that's what helps you get out of that situation.
Yeah, that is, again, so responsible of you. Like knowing yourself, knowing that, you know, instead of buying these 12-pound sunglasses, I'm going to put this towards my savings.
Yeah.
And actually, in the long run, that's going to make me happier.
100%.
Once I started making more money, I started opening Pandora's box and buying a bunch of stuff that I never could buy in my childhood because I was like a kid at a candy store. I was like, I have the means and the ability to buy this now.
Yeah.
And I still felt so empty inside. I felt actually emptier because these things that I thought would make me happy would give me a dopamine hit when I checked out or bought it online. And then it would arrive and I'd be like, oh, it's cute. And then I'd forget about it. And so really happiness really does come from within.
And do you know what? And for anyone being like, oh, these are a pair of privileged like women talking about this, let me tell you the story of the richest person I have ever met, IRL. This conversation transcends class, level, background, geography, race. It's the same for every single person. I had this exact same conversation with the co-founder of Love Film, which was kind of the precursor to Netflix, what could have gone on to become Netflix here in the UK in the 90s. This guy, Simon Franks, the Love Film exit was one of like 4 or 5 exits that he had. He is multi-millionaire, if not billionaire at this point. And it opened up this exact same conversation. And we used the example of planes and like air travel. And I shared the story of how once I got extremely lucky, pure luck, and I would love to talk about luck as just a whole topic as well anyway. But I got extremely lucky on one occasion where I was flying London to Boston and I got a random upgrade. Like, it was completely random.
Like a movie.
Oh my God, like definitely like a movie. It was incredible. I mean, I'm now kind of like, fuck, I've had a taste of what that's like.
The tails. You can't go back.
Oh my God, that was actually phenomenal. And I'm now kind of like, I think I would rather like skip a few holidays that I would have normally taken and maybe save up just to be able to like fly business class again. It was incredible. It opened up the doors to a whole new world. It was incredible. It was like, wow, like space and luxuries. And what's so funny about it is like, I was so overwhelmed and like impressed and just loving it, that it took me a good few hours. I mean, obviously I was just like settle down and get into it and take on, but it's like, you get the free toiletries. And you're like, this is like the irony as well of like, if you could afford business class, you don't need the free toilet.
Yeah.
It's like, it's everyone else in the economy that needs this free stuff, not me. Anyway, so I'm obviously like lapping it all up and taking it in, that it took me a good few hours. Genuinely, I'm kind of half embarrassed to admit this.
Fine.
But it took me a while to actually realise there's a whole other class up ahead of me. That's first class. I didn't even realise. I was like, oh my God, there's another level that's even better. And that prompted this whole kind of series of thoughts in my mind, which was like, oh man, I wonder whether the people in first class, I wonder if they know anyone, or at least like second degree connection from people who have their own private jets. And I wonder if the people on the private jets are annoyed they have to lease their jet instead of owning it outright. And then like the ones who own it, I wonder if they're jealous of people who have got like 3 jets instead of just the one. And then the people who've got the 3 jets, are they jealous of the people who own their own island that they don't even need to get? And it just like, and I was like,
It goes on and on and
oh my
on.
God, it goes on. And this Simon Franks, going back to the richest man I've ever met in my life, absolutely confirmed it. And he had his own version of the story. And he was like, you're absolutely right. And he recounted the story of how opening up this whole new world for him, getting to meet these people who own the private jets.
Yeah.
And he was similarly mind blown, like I was, getting onto business class, getting onto his friend's private jet. Like, oh my God, I'm flying on this private jet. This is great. This is just like the movies. But his friend was exactly that, was annoyed that one of his other friends had a bigger jet. And he was like, and that's it. And he was like, now claimed to live quite frugally as well. I was like, I bike everywhere. He's really philanthropic. He's got different foundations he's set up. Exactly that. It's like, that is a very, very slippery slope once you start getting down that materialist path. And I think advertising today is not what it used to be. We've gone from Mad Men era jingles and slogans to manipulative mass media using the most advanced psychological hacks to get people locked in and manipulated, like for real. This is not me with a tinfoil hat on. Like this is 100% categorically true. It's actually even worse than what you're imagining. It genuinely is. And when you have, whether it's like fast fashion is the example that comes to mind for me, whether it's like Shein ads or cider or whatever, the list goes on, they know what they are doing. £5 for a t-shirt, £6 for a skirt. Oh, it's cute, like gym set. And you're like, oh, just this, just that. And you ring it all up at the till and lo and behold, it comes to £100. Whether that's like one shopping trip or over the span of a month, for example, it can just be those little things.
Yeah.
And I'm having this conversation a lot at the moment. Certain people in my life, I'm like, set them this exercise of download all of your bank statements from the past minimum 6 months and just look at it. It goes back to your point on that familiarity, but you will be surprised. I was surprised to find how much my £3-4 lattes, how much they add up. So to your point as well now on like the things that you can afford now that you're earning your own money, you've still got to be careful. These things kind of creep up on you as well. So yeah.
No, there's so much there, but I really loved your story that you shared with the guy that exited. And I think that it's so true. That's why I started with that question, because you really do need to know what's fueling you, what success is. And I love that you claimed and talked about money, but it wasn't just money full stop. It's what money can bring you
100%.
and money as a tool.
Yeah.
And I really think that females a lot of the times don't see that. They just see the money part and that's where it ends. But it's not about the money. It's what money can bring to
Definitely.
you.
Yeah.
And that's why we need to remove all the stigma and taboo around it.
100%. And what I do need to just jump in here on the conversation with money and women, this is what it's all about for me. This is what it's all about. Women, we are underfunded, we are underpaid, we don't ask for enough, we don't demand enough. It's not on us, it is the system, it's not our fault. But that is my mission. That's my life's mission, my legacy in some shape or form is more women to get more money, 100%.
Yes, period.
More women need more money, period.
Yeah, that's it. That's the end of the episode. I'm also going to just tactically share a couple things if you don't mind. So you've probably heard of Rich Dad, Poor Dad. I think that's a great first start. Really great tactics, really great mindset shifts. And then the other book, which I saw you pick up at the airport, which sounds so creepy, but The Psychology of Money. It's so good.
Right.
It's such a good book.
I'm still reading it.
I'm not like following Steph to the airport, okay? She posted this on Instagram and I was like, yes, you have to read it because it just like removes some of the stigma around money and talks about it so matter-of-factly.
Yeah.
In a way where you're just like, oh yeah. So I think for people that are maybe like the previous version of Steph and the previous version of Selena that are just first going into this and they feel some type of way about money, those two books could help.
Yeah.
And then maybe you have the courage to go seek out a financial advisor or, you know, talk about money with your friends.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If we're looking for like specific recommendations, love those 2 book recommendations. I'd also recommend certain Instagram accounts, especially for women, just to make sure that like you are exposed to really digestible and fun sometimes content that helps you to get really kind of comfortable and genuinely feeling a bit more empowered with your money. So a few particular Instagram accounts, The Curve. Have you heard of The Curve? Do you know them? Amazing. They're doing so well. I think the whole platform, I think the podcast, everything is just called The Curve. We'll link it in the show notes. Exactly. And then you've got others like Female Invest. So I had one of the co-founders of Female Invest on my show as well, which is definitely one of my favorite interviews. That was amazing. But just follow Female Invest on Instagram, VestPod as well. Start off with at least those because they really break it down. And I think you were saying before about like destigmatizing and taking away that taboo and everything else. They really help to remove all of that. One key piece of advice I would also want to share here is the power of compound interest.
Yeah.
The sooner you start, the better. And you don't need a lot of money to start. Again, as long as you're covered, as long as like you're not living paycheck to paycheck, even if you put away £5 a month into like a high interest savings account or into a pension or something like that, you might not be thinking that long term just yet. But the graphs that show the difference, you could be putting in like, I don't know the exact figures off the top of my head, right? But like 5 times as much 10 years later. And there will be a difference in those trajectories of hundreds of thousands of pounds by the time you come to retirement age.
Yeah.
As an example, right? So very much little and often. And I think because I am still reading The Psychology of Money, I think literally the bit that I've just been reading about is little and often is the best strategy.
No, I can't remember which book it was, either Rich Dad or Poor Dad, or even maybe both, The Psychology of Money, but they talk about compound interest, and they talk about it like it's one of the magical wonders of the world. And I honestly think it kind of is.
Yeah,
it's
100%.
Crazy.
It is crazy. And this is the frustration when I do speak to younger people or with my mentoring, for example, how much fear gets in the way of so much that we want to do in life. And there's more we can talk about on that as well, right? Whether it is entrepreneurship, taking risks, asking someone out on a date, putting yourself forward, raising your hand for something, asking for a promotion, like the amount of things. I'm a firm, deep believer in you miss 100% of the shots you don't take. Give it a shot. You got to give it a shot. Give it a try. And fear comes into it with the money as well. And it's like, it's not scary. I know it feels scary, but putting away £5, £20, £50, like, and think about it. Are you spending money on oat lattes? Is like my thing that's like adding up. Are you eating out? Are you shopping? Are you buying a new dress? Like, put that into a savings account instead and you'll be so much better off.
With that, I want to talk about entrepreneurship.
Yeah,
because
let's
you
dive
hinted
in.
at it.
Yeah.
What was your foray into entrepreneurship? Like, what made you want to start a business?
Yeah, absolutely. So I mentioned that my first job afforded me that privilege of actually getting to exercise an entrepreneurial muscle on someone else's dime. So I think coming from art school, for me, like entrepreneurship is creativity meets a market need that you can monetize is business. So I think me definitely coming from that more creative background from art school, screen printing t-shirts, the thing that was missing from me was the whole market gap, the selling, the marketing, learning about buyer psychology and behavioral economics. All of that was like completely not in my realm of conscious whatsoever. But that was kind of like early days. And then, as I said, my first proper job, that was actually kind of doing it much more for real, with real clients, real projects, real money, and kind of having that sense of ownership was really exciting, really powerful, and especially diving much more into the new business role as well. By the end of my time at this company, so I'd been there for about 4 years, just coming up to 4 years, and starting out as an admin assistant on 15k a year, I ended being responsible for a third of the business revenue and having also grown the business by a third. Literally just me, just like hiring me. Like, as lucky as I was, as much as I benefited and as wonderful as that opportunity was, they did too. Like, that's not lost on me either, because they, just by hiring me, increased the business by 33%, if not more, right? So that was also like much more real. That was more empowering. That gave me that self-belief to be like, I can do this. Like, I've got this. Continued in my career. And then it wasn't until 2017 where I started my own first proper business. So this was Bloom, 24th of November, 2017, a marketing agency. Grew that completely from the ground up, fully bootstrapped into 6-figure turnover, profitable business with a team servicing multiple clients. The catalyst was hating with every cell in my body the interview process of getting a new job. It was so painful. It was so horrible. And it was through that process, I just knocked up my own website on Wix, on, just super easy, like drag and drop, like build a website. And I just started like hustling. I just started kind of putting it out there, attending events, and just, saying yes to everything and just doing what you got to do to get the business off the ground. And basically, like, that took off quicker than any of the job offers that I was getting for the time,
Fair.
So there was this combination, we do need the push and the pull factors. Sometimes you have that itch to scratch. You are pulled by something. We're talking earlier about like your move to the UK as well, and being interested in like living abroad, living somewhere else. But sometimes you still also need that push as well to make it happen. And so that was it for me. I knew that I wanted to do it, but the fact that nothing else was happening on this side and actually this one was taking off, the decision was kind of made for me.
Yeah. Okay. And throughout that process, I know I am cognizant you said you wanted to talk about luck later on. So is that where luck played into it, or did luck come into play later?
Luck comes in all day, every day, right? It comes in all the time. Luck is the only thing outside of our control. Okay, what can we do to at least stack the odds in our favor, because it's just the biggest thing. I think actually Daniel Kahneman, the author of Thinking Fast and Slow, he did this really interesting research piece to look at which of the following 3 factors have the most bearing on people's success: talent, effort, luck. I've already kind of given the game away here. Anyway, we're talking about luck, but luck is the number 1 factor. Do you want to guess the other 2, at least the order?
So you're saying luck's number 1.
Luck is number 1.
And then I would say effort, and then I would say talent.
Yeah, you're totally right. Bang on. Yeah. And there's a big drop. There's a big drop between effort and talent, because you could just be the most talented person in the world, but if you're sat at home and nobody knows about it, like...
Or if you don't put in the work to actually do something about it.
Right.
Nowhere.
That's totally it. That's totally it. Talent is the least of all by a long shot. Good news is, through this research, as much as luck is the number 1 contributing factor, there's only a hairline difference between luck and effort. And so coming back to this concept where I dove into on hacking luck, you can, by taking those shots, again, you miss 100% of the shots that you don't take. And so you do have that phrase, the harder I work, the luckier I get. I know that Simon Squibb has a contrarian take on that, and he's like, that's complete BS. He calls it out. It's not the harder I work, the luckier I get. Because you've got the thing, you've got like, okay, well, the farmer working all hours, why are they not the millionaire? And his take on it is actually, no, the more risk I take, the luckier I get. So this is where, again, in Psychology of Money, there's a chapter, this is only fresh in my mind because I've just read it, but luck and risk being those close cousins. So it is putting in that effort, but it is pushing yourself out of your comfort zone to take risks as well in that. I think where Morgan Housel makes a fantastic point, we don't attribute enough of the reason for success to the long tails that lead up to the tip of the iceberg that we all see. You know, we talk about social media and the highlight reel and everything else. It's kind of like that. It's like you don't see everything. You don't see the rest of the iceberg. One of the best examples that I really would love to share now, actually, is Walt Disney. And he shared that Walt Disney produced hundreds and hundreds of hours of animation before his breakthrough, which was Snow White. Not only did he produce hundreds of hours of animation, but he also catastrophically failed multiple times. He drove his studio into bankruptcy. He let down different people. There were a string of failures alongside this constant effort that he put into it. And it was the breakthrough with Snow White that was a legitimate game changer. It literally changed the game for him. It brought him his first Oscar. It gave him international recognition. It yielded millions, or, you know, adjusted for inflation, like billions today. And it afforded him the finances to be able to buy the studio in Burbank, which is where Walt Disney, like head office, like Central Studios, still lives to this day, thanks to Snow White. And there's many, many more examples like that. In the book, they talk about Apple and the success, the most profitable businesses in the world, and all the rest. And it's like, you just don't see the tail behind it.
To your point, the reason why I'm so passionate about not just showing the highlight reel is because otherwise we all think everyone's achieving overnight success, which is not the case. To relate it to a more modern day example, Mr. Beast, 10,000 videos, probably 20,000 hours of filming, and then the video went viral. And now he's one of the biggest YouTubers. And I feel like with speaking, it is such almost a sexy thing to do. You're on these huge stages. It's a whole big thing. It's the highlight reel. We see your videos, but I know that you've put in so much work to get onto those stages. And so I would love for you to talk about the behind the scenes journey of that and like what the real looks like.
Yeah, 100%. We definitely need to talk about this because of everything that I've done, whether it has been my business or any other kind of like success in air quotes. The public speaking is for sure the thing that looks the glitziest, the most glamorous. You see the like speaking on stages. And so that definitely is where I get the most kind of questions asked. And it is the thing that looks like that kind of tip of the iceberg, the pinnacle, like, oh my God. So yeah, let's break it down. So the story starts in a really similar way, actually, to those kind of like long tail success stories that we recount, whether it is like Mr. Beast or Walt Disney. It actually came from, again, my last business. So I mentioned that I bootstrapped, I had no external investment. And so what that meant was I had to be scrappy. And it meant that I had to lean into like whatever I could to grow the business. And that meant posting on organic social, building a personal brand. And as luck would have it, I got the opportunity, very last minute, right time, right place. It was actually a client of ours. We were helping put on an event for them. And it happened to be a panel event for International Women's Day. And the founder of this particular client was supposed to be the one hosting, like moderating the panel. Literally, like at the last minute, he turns to me and he goes, Steph, I actually think that you'd be better placed hosting this panel. How do you feel about stepping in and taking my place? So I was like, cool. Okay. Yeah. Love it. Thankfully, I already knew one of the speakers. I'd already recommended some of the panelists. So it wasn't too scary. But anyway, dove in. And that was March of 2018, the first real public speaking kind of gig, right? Being on stage, having an audience. I wasn't paid for it. Obviously, it was just kind of like a scrappy thing we were doing for one of our startup clients. But that sowed the seed. And coming off that stage, obviously you get the adrenaline rush, but I also had such lovely feedback from people in the audience. They couldn't believe that like I had just been thrown in the deep end and just kind of done it so naturally. And all that lovely positive feedback actually reminded me of my burning deep childhood ambition, which was to be an actress. We always get asked when you're little, like, what do you want to be when you grow up? And I was an arrogant little fucker as a little girl. I'd be like, I'm not going to tell you what I want to be. I'm going to tell you what I'm going to be. Like, I was super arrogant. And like, I'm going to have my name in lights. Do you want my autograph now or later? Like, up to you. So I was like super arrogant about it. Like, obviously a little girl, like super full of herself. I don't think you can overanalyze like where it comes from. Or I think that's the beauty of going back to what did you want to be when you were a child? What were your childhood dreams? Because we weren't clouded by other people and social media and peer pressure and the weight of trying to like think strategically and all this other stuff. It was obviously something that was an innate desire. Like no one ever pushed me. No, there was like nowhere. Like it really
born to be a star. Just born to be a star.
Just to be a natural, darling. Exactly.
Born to be on stage.
But that was the reminder. And again, I was like, oh, this is, 5, 6, 7-year-old Steph's dream. So it was that event which reopened that desire in me. But at that point, didn't really take to it. I was like, oh, cool, that was just a bit of fun. One of the beauties of public speaking, it is both your business development strategy, your marketing, and your revenue stream. Business development, because you do get to present your company. Most conferences, like they won't allow you to do any pitching or anything, but you actually shouldn't. That's not the way to sell anyway. So just by you representing and getting your brand, everything out there. So you've got that business development stream to it. The marketing is you are the product and people see you in action. And so as a result of that first gig, I got invited to other gigs because they already saw me do it once. So it was kind of like the proof is in the pudding. So the proof is in the pudding, but it's also the product at the same time, right? And then if you can earn from it, it's a revenue stream as well. So it's like insane. It's phenomenal. As a result of that, got invited back to another thing and another thing. Event that I can point back to is hosting a panel. So again, none of this so far is me giving a talk. This is me just interviewing, hosting panels. If anyone's considering breaking into that space, that's an easier way to get your foot in the door. I threw my name in the hat for hosting a panel at this conference in Italy, Selena. And they got back to me like, yeah, I love your profile. Application's great. We think you'd be perfect for this particular slot that we've got in the program. But we have zero budget, like zero. What I've come to learn, which I can show listeners as well, is that conferences don't pay. Like there isn't a budget. If you're lucky, they will cover your expenses, especially if it is an international thing. They will cover you having to travel and a night stay in a hotel. But most of the time they don't, and especially the big ones. Coming from the tech world, you've got Web Summit, Collision in Toronto. That's another crazy lucky story with that. But all of these big names that you might have heard of, they don't pay. Definitely not. You got to make your own way there. You got to make it happen. Anyway, so this was the same with this Italy conference. They were like, we don't have anything at all. Zero. Like, we're not even going to cover your travel. I was still running Bloom at this point in time. And I obviously have to question. I'm like, is this worth it? You've got to constantly take these risk assessments as well as sizing up the opportunity, like risk versus reward. Is this worth doing it? And most of the time, like, you don't know. Maybe there's more chance it will go well because it is untested and because most people would say no to it for the same reason, right? But it was a tough choice to make because I was like, I'm running a business. I've got to like pay out of my own pocket to make my way there, you know, and it's also like my time as well.
Opportunity cost,
I've got to make sure that like I'm there the night before, so I'm settled and in the hotel. There's no way I'm going to like chance just flying in and making it straight to the conference, staying there the night of the event as well. So it's like I've got to like minimum 2 nights in a hotel, the cost, the flights, everything else. Anyway, I was like, I don't know how I justified it to myself, but I was like, do it. You miss 100% of the shots you don't take. I did it. And the whole time, like, I'm also doing this kind of annoyed. I'm kind of like, I'm not getting paid for this. What am I getting out of it? And again, I'm not even giving a talk. I'm not presenting my company. I'm not giving a speech. I'm just there hosting. The lesson here in this as well is like, if you're going to go and do something, you've got to make the most of it. I did it in the leanest way possible. So I was like, I'm going to slum it. No ego. Embrace the humility here. Cheap budget airline flights, rough hours. Find the like cheapest hotel that doesn't look like I'm going to get, you know, in trouble staying. Like, exactly. Do it all as lean as possible, but do whatever I can to make the most of it. When Long did this event, Lady Luck enters the equation. This next bit in the story is completely out of my hands, completely out of my control. What is in my control is saying yes to opportunities, is putting yourself forward for these things, is showing up, is putting yourself out there and putting your best foot forward so that if something comes along, you're there and you're ready for it. Lady Luck enters the equation. This woman in the audience resonated with my energy, liked my vibe on stage, but like, I don't really know what she was judging because again, I wasn't really giving it a talk, but I was like hosting this panel. She didn't even find me at the event. She found me on LinkedIn afterwards. So I don't even know, like, I didn't see her in the audience. I don't know where she was sat in the audience. It's still like a bit of a mystery, which is just crazy.
Yeah.
She found me on LinkedIn, reached out, was like, I saw you on stage, loved your energy. I run the all the content and programming for this innovation center in northern Italy, which is why she was there, right? It was like a few towns over. We're looking for a keynote speaker in September. This was around like May, June time. So I was like, wow, my God, Fenno, this is like crazy. This is the most amazing thing ever. This is like the best thing you could ever possibly expect or hope to happen. Get on the call. I'm super excited. I then missed this opportunity. They will go with somebody else. So I'm like, oh, okay, fine. You win some, you lose some. Again, another entrepreneurial lesson here is like, you just got to pick yourself back up again, keep going, keep going. They come back to me January. So bearing in mind, let's put some real dates on this. I think this is May 2023 that I did the completely free, unpaid hosting a panel in Italy at this conference. I had this call a few weeks, months later with this person who reached out to me for a gig that September. Didn't work out for whatever reason, chose somebody else. That January, they circled back to say, we're doing another event in June. Can we pick up the conversation and see if you'd be interested again? So like...
Oh, amazing. But it's almost like a year later.
A year later, this is like psychology of money case study of like the Mr. Beast example, how much time, how much effort, all the reps you put in.
Keep showing up.
Keep showing up.
Yeah.
Taking care of yourself in the meantime so that you can keep showing up.
Yeah.
Bearing in mind, this panel that I got roped into at the last minute, where I started the story, was 2018. So this is like 5 years later and I'm still working on it, right?
Yeah.
So this is 5 years later. I did the talk. The subject of that talk was resilience.
Amazing.
Super meta. That's the true story behind it. Then this resilience talk, June 2023, I thought I'd made it. This was my first nicely paid gig. So I'm going to break it down for everyone as well. I got paid 5,000 euros for this keynote. Again, nice, but actually that number keeps whittling down once you realize actually it's in euros, not pounds. So you convert in the foreign exchange conversion, you've already lost like £300-400 straight away from nothing. Oh, actually all the travel, all the expenses, that's within that as well. That's not on top of it.
Okay.
So it's not just the speaking fee. So, okay. So I've got to like sort out my flights, my hotel, the rest of it. It's not getting filmed either. And I am damn well sure that this talk is going to get filmed and record it. So I have to source videographers and pay them and the editors. Yeah. And then, of course, you've got the time on the content development, the speech writing, the calls with the clients, all of this adds up. You're like, oh, okay, that 5,000. Right? So this is what you need to be careful. This is where it's like, people are like, so they want to know how much am I? And you're like, yeah, but like, I'm going to go there with you, but I'm really going to go. I'm going to break it all down and what this all actually means. So I thought that I'd made it because I was like, fantastic.
Of course.
Thought I've gone from like not getting paid at all to getting a 4-figure fee off the back of this. And now because I'm getting it recorded and I'm going to put that out there on social and also putting some budget into boosting it on social as well. That's more money kind of eating away, but like spend money to make money and all the rest of it. And Selena, crickets.
Really?
And so this is another lesson here on managing like your own expectations.
Yeah.
Because I think it is good and healthy to get excited and have the vision and the dream and like that. Even just talking about it, it's like getting me excited again now. But you need to be okay with it being another failed Mr. Beast video or another failed Walt Disney animation that no one's ever seen. And you need to keep going. And that's where there's like the controversial advice of like, do what you love. I'm a huge fangirl of Scott Galloway and he hates that phrase. He always is like, it's the worst, stupid advice. Don't do what you love. You have to do what makes you money. No, the truth is so much of this game, whether it is public speaking, entrepreneurship, whatever, anything in life requires resilience. It is, I gave a whole keynote on it, but it's true. Like it's a 1000% non-negotiable. And if you don't do what you love, how on earth are you going to have that resilience to keep going? And so I had that like milestone moment, June 2023, crickets beyond that point. And then since then, Selena, it's kind of been bits and bobs. And I can like share this on record. Like to this day, I haven't matched that same level yet. That was still the highest I've ever been paid for a gig. So it's absolutely like a work in progress.
Yeah.
But part of that work, and this is where it's kind of a double-edged sword, is part of that work is promoting it, is putting it out there, is doing all the stuff that I know consciously will make people, when I meet up with them, be like, oh my God, you're smashing it. And I'm like, because that's the game I'm playing. You're meant to make it look that way.
Of course, yeah.
To keep building, to keep growing, to get those high speaking fees, to get bigger stages. That's what I want. That's what I'm working towards. But I come on here and I break it down to your listeners and a different audience of like, gang, this isn't like, this is not easy.
Yeah.
And, you know, you saying before, like, you know, how an overnight success is not a thing. One of my favorite sayings is it takes 1,000 nights to become an overnight success. And would you believe when I took the public speaking game seriously, that point to getting that 5K keynote was pretty much 1,000 nights. It actually worked out to be over 2.5 years. And I was like, do you know what? It's more than a nice saying. It legitimately was 1,000 nights.
It's true. It's literally true.
But the amount of people, again, who never saw me that way, who never saw that I was capable of doing that, who couldn't even imagine it, I definitely could. And that was a really surprising moment. It's when I get some reaction, people know that, wow. I remember I bumped into a friend on the street and it was around the time that I was like sharing these videos from the talk. And they said to me, it was really like refreshingly honest, you know, so much so that it's stuck with me ever since. They said, Steph, I always knew that like you were good, but seeing you in that light, speaking that way on that stage, showing up the way you did was like, whoa, I knew you were good, but I didn't know you were that good. Mm-hmm. And it really stuck with me because I was like, I always knew it. I didn't even realize it. I don't think about what other people think, right? If you've got that self-belief, you know you can achieve it. What I'm definitely finding in this game is whether it is business or public speaking or whatever path, it's the other people that need that convincing. If you've already convinced it to yourself and you know you can do it and you're capable, it's just those other people that need that persuasion. And unfortunately, that persuasion takes time.
Yeah.
All of the spaces in which I operate are highly competitive, whether it's a marketing agency, public speaking, podcasting, like these are the most competitive fields ever. But it means that all the more resilience is required because how often does somebody have an event and need a keynote speaker? And then not to fall into a scarcity mindset trap or anything, but like how often does that happen and how many speakers are there available to choose from? Again, that particular story of that Italian keynote is a fantastic example of I took a risk. I put my money where my mouth was, no guarantee. I happened to be extremely lucky by having somebody sat in the audience who liked me, resonated. I then missed the next opportunity that September. I stuck around, was available and interested in the call in January to then deliver the keynote in June. And another recent keynote that I gave was for an award ceremony, which was a dream come true. So it was like my perfect gig. Thank you. Yeah, it was like my perfect. I was like, oh, this is exactly the sort of thing that I exist for. Like addressing a room full of entrepreneurs. Like, I can talk to you all for hours and hours. And even that as well, Celine, like how that none of these opportunities have come about because I posted a reel and it's just like landed in my lap. Nothing has ever just landed in my lap.
Yeah.
That award ceremony, the rest of the iceberg beneath that is I was a judge for 3 years running for that same award ceremony previous years. That's 3 years on the trot where like I've not got paid for that either. I build a rapport with them, and not like strategically, but just because of like who we are, right? You just build a relationship with them. A few of the lovely girls on the team, they're following me on social media as well. So like they're still getting exposed to my content. And I remember, do you know what? Sorry, I'm going back now in my mind. So this award ceremony is organised by Startups magazine. And I remember seeing Startups magazine at the D&AD Design Festival in 2018, I'm going to say. And that was first seeing it. And this was again the first year of my, so I set up my business 24th of November 2017. So 2018, we were entering into like my full year of business. And I was like, I need to be on these guys' radar. I need to work with these guys. We need to collaborate. It's Startups magazine. Like I've just locked in. And that's the building. So it's like coming across them at an event in 2018, developing a relationship, nurturing that, contributing articles, showing up, being consistent, being reliable, delivering quality over and over and over and over and over and over, being there when they get in contact. There's not enough said for that reliability. Then getting invited to judge, then doing such a great job at it that they invite me the next year, then being one of the few judges they invite back for a third year, and then seeing all my public speaking content while I'm doing all this other stuff to invite me to then be the keynote speaker. That's years and years and years of effort and investment that's gone into that. But then everyone sees me in my bejeweled, glitzy, cut out blazer dress speaking on stage, and all you see, and the whole audience there at that event, they see me come up on stage and speak for half an hour, and that's it.
But like you just so vulnerably and candidly and honestly outlined, there's so much that goes into it.
Yeah.
There's like the years of you doing the damn thing, so you have stuff to talk about on stage. There's the years of you practicing your public speaking. There's the years of you just going out there, testing a bunch of stuff, building rapport, building credibility, building up just like trust with people to be even getting to these rooms. Yeah. And then when you're in the rooms, you put in the work, you put in the effort, you actually
there is no shortcut to some of those things. There's no shortcut to delivering, to building trust.
Yeah.
You need evidence. You can trust a person.
Yeah.
Especially in business.
Yeah.
It's like that old adage, no one got fired for bringing in IBM, right? It's like the safe, trusted route. So you've got to think about that internal reputation for that person that's put themselves out on lows, taking a risk on you to come in and deliver something. But you're showing up as yourself. And to your point, the other thing that you can't shortcut to is the experience, is to know what you're talking about. I don't need to prep to go in and talk to a room of entrepreneurs because I've lived, eaten, breathed it for the past decade.
Yeah. I'm going to put a screen up of like you and your amazing bejeweled food.
Insert.
Yeah, we're going to put it like right here.
The outfit.
But it's true. Like I saw that on Instagram. I saw that on LinkedIn. I was like, oh my gosh, Steph is smashing it. I am so fucking proud of her. But I know, because we've been talking, we've been very vulnerable and candid with each other. I know how hard you've worked on this.
Yeah.
So that's why I wanted to talk about
this.
This.
Well done.
And you've been like so candidly talking about this whole journey. And I guess my last question to kind of wrap up this segment is there's so many ups, there's so many downs. And you spoke about having that belief in yourself and you spoke about having that resilience. But a lot of people maybe don't have that.
For sure.
Or maybe when it's low, it starts to wobble, which is very natural.
Yeah, of course.
So how do you pick yourself back up again, and how do you continue to have that throughout all these ups and downs?
Great question. And you know what? I'm very aware of the fact that, you know, there's some of what I'm saying that not everyone's going to relate to, right? The fact that, but I guess it's also kind of like, oh, okay, you know, I was like an arrogant little girl growing up and I wanted to be an actress and I'm extroverted and all this stuff. And it's like, I know that not everyone is like that. So I don't want there to be this like, oh, easy for you to say. So I'm really glad that...
Sorry, but,
go on.
But you also have had like hard times as well.
For
it's
sure.
Not always unicorns and rainbows.
100%.
So I also wanted to give you that too. Like, you're not always confident in yourself.
100%, which is why I'm so glad that you do shine that light on it and bring that up in the conversation, because we do need to talk about it, because I'm not just here being like, oh, I'm so amazing. Not at all. It's a fantastic question. There are self-confidence tips and tricks, which I will share. I'm going to end on the single most effective way to build your self-confidence. So The tips and tricks, first of all, is listening to hype music, saving what's called on my desktop, actually called a hype folder. So I have a folder on my desktop, literally called hype folder, where I save screenshots of DMs, of messages, of comments, wonderful, lovely things people have had to say, praise, positive feedback, and put it all in there. Whenever you're feeling low, go back to it. Yeah, I think the third one as well is doing just what makes you feel your best self, what makes you just feel good in yourself. Whether that is with fashion, like I'm a huge fashion lover. And so I know that like through that self-expression, like wear something that does make you feel confident, that does make you feel badass. Like there's stuff like that, just little tips and tricks. You got to do what works for you. I'm also a big proponent of just like exercise, move your body, get your blood pumping. And I also do believe that results come from taking action. And I think sometimes if we are just too in our own heads, if we are consuming too much of like other people's content, that gets me down. Like I had an exercise to do. We had to look at who are the go-to public speakers in your domain. And like for me, it's entrepreneurship. And so like who are the first people that come up in the search results? It's like Stephen Bartlett. And so I'm like, okay, that doesn't really fill me with confidence, you know? There is an element of, you know, drown out that noise. I think that we do need to curate our media consumption in the same way that we try and do that nutritionally with like physical food as well. So, you know, you are what you eat. That extends to what we are putting into our brain. So there's lots of different bits and bobs there. The ultimate piece of advice on the single most effective way to build your self-confidence is to give yourself enough irrefutable evidence that you got this. If you need to keep proving it to yourself, and you need to keep putting in those reps and just proving to yourself that you can do it, that is going to outperform any morning affirmations in the mirror or wearing your favorite top, because it's genuinely providing your brain with that evidence. You're not trying to hack it. You're not trying to like brain tricks or anything. They can have a 5-10% effect, but the 95% is what we truly do believe. And there is, you know, I do love the whole manifesting and affirmations and all the rest of it, but there is definitely this argument that if you really don't believe these things that you're saying, if I went to a bathroom and looked at myself in the mirror and I said to myself, Steph, you're the hottest woman on the planet, I don't believe that. I fundamentally don't believe it. And because you don't, there's definitely like, okay, there's an argument for, okay, saying it out loud and the power of our words and the power of our thoughts. But if you don't believe it deep down inside, it can have an adverse effect and it can do the opposite. Because every time you voice those affirmations, the other voice comes up that says, well, that's not true. Well, that you sound like an idiot or whatever. So that's where it's like keeping it really real, prove to yourself that you got this, and keeping promises to yourself is the way to build that confidence in whatever it is. Start small. Start with something teeny, teeny, tiny. If you say to yourself that you're going to go out for a walk when you get up in the morning, if you're going to say to yourself that you are going to hit the gym, whatever it is, keep that promise to yourself. That builds that self-confidence because you're proving to yourself that you can trust yourself because you don't break those promises. And whatever it is that you're trying to build your self-confidence in, whether it is business or public speaking, these things that we're talking about, you need to put it to the test and do it for real. Again, we're saying there's no shortcuts, and there's no shortcuts to the experience.
I love that. I am exactly the same as you. And so for people that maybe are just in that downward slump, because it's fine, it happens to everyone.
For sure.
For me, I am very similar to you. I immediately turn off my phone and I stop consuming social media because social media is a highlight reel. And when you compare, you just feel shitty about yourself.
Yeah.
So I turn that off. And then I have a version of the hype folder too.
No.
Except mine is literally a laundry list of everything I am proud of and everything I've accomplished since birth. And so you just literally look at this list and you're just like, okay, I've done all these things.
That's so cute.
This is what I can do. This is what I'm capable of. And because I've done these things, I can do this hard thing too.
Yeah.
And I think it's so important to note that before I would feel so sad or down whenever I had a challenge. But I actually now look back and it's like all those challenges have made me smarter, stronger, more resilient. And it's showed me that I can overcome things and it's built that trust with myself. So yeah, I think what you've shared is so beautiful, but it's also so Amazing that it's very similar to what
Yeah,
I do too.
we've got lots in common. That's
Yeah, we
great to
do.
hear. I
Yeah.
love that.
Well, I
Nice.
guess just like quickly wrapping up, I would love to pick your brain on LinkedIn because
Yeah.
LinkedIn is something I think that is such an untapped opportunity, especially in the space if you're a service provider or if you're wanting to speak. But LinkedIn can sometimes feel a bit cringe. Not going to lie.
Yeah.
But I think you do such a good job where it's like super empowering, super informative, but not cringe and not broy at all.
Yeah.
What is your strategy with LinkedIn?
It's such a great question. I'm going to try and not talk for another like 3 hours
No.
just on LinkedIn. So I'm going to try and cherry pick the best
Yeah.
things here. But there is a tension point between formulas and strategy and knowing what works versus the authenticity and, more than that, treating your audience with respect, because everyone sees through it. Everyone sees when you're not being who you really are.
Mhm.
And sure, it's a slightly different version of ourselves, right? I think we have got certain sides to us that we kind of dial up, dial down, depending on the platform, because the truth is each platform, from my marketing background, like, it has to be contextualized. If you look at any thought leader, creator who are across different channels, like you as well, and doing such a great job of it yourself, is your content isn't just the same thing that you just kind of like blast out across all these different platforms. LinkedIn is contextualized. I think that it has evolved and grown and changed so dramatically in the past few years, and it continues to do so. I think I'm hesitant to also kind of give much more specific advice now because I just don't know how evergreen it's going to be. I think the core fundamentals of finding that tension point will still remain of like, do look at what is working. There is a reason a lot of the anatomy of a LinkedIn post is the same across like a lot of the top performing ones. Like, there is a reason why it has a hook, why that opening statement is short and pithy and incites curiosity. There is a reason why single one-liners, just to make it more digestible instead of like a wall of text. There is a reason why the selfies are still doing very well. There's a reason for all of that. So take those lessons learned, understand the psychology behind the psychology. Really, I mean, it's just the attention economy, and it's so noisy. We're gaming the algorithm. And that really is the tension point, is algorithm versus audience. How much is your content being produced for the algorithm to make sure that you are visible and you are at the top of the feed when people log in, versus the actual value that is for the audience? Because if you're only thinking about the people you want to speak to, that type of content is going to look very different to how you're kind of gamifying it in the system, right?
Yeah.
So I think it is that balance. Consistency, again, the same theme is really coming across in the whole conversation here. I have been posting consistently on LinkedIn since 2019. Only very recently, Selena, that I have dialed it down. Definitely Monday to Friday, every single week except for Christmas since 2019. And it's only been recently that I've had to like let go a little bit. And I'm now posting 3 times a week instead of 5 or 6, literally. But I'm still posting 3 times a week. That consistency comes in. I think also one of the other like fundamentals is the clarity as well in what you're about, in what you are doing. Because again, in the attention economy, you have to earn people's attention. And you don't have the privilege of having an hour of somebody's time. I mean, shout out if you're still with us and listening. We really appreciate you. If you're still here, you're a real one, right? But like, it's not lost on me that like most people, you're only going to read like the first line or the first few seconds. And if you earn that, you earn the next few seconds, and then you earn the next few minutes. Whether it's video, podcast, written content, whatever type of content it is, you need to really bear that in mind. So having the clarity on what's your message, what is it that you're talking about, what's the problem that you're solving, and who are you solving that problem for, to shortcut the time that people don't have.
Well, thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.
This was incredible.
Thank you.
I feel like because we're friends, like I've gotten to know you over the past year, and it's just been such a privilege to be in your circle and be surrounded by your energy and just be inspired by you.
Oh, that's very sweet.
I think this interview, like I've been dying to do this because I've just always been so curious about you and I wanted to hear more. But thank you so much for being so vulnerable and candid. This is so incredible. And so I guess last thing before you go, what is maybe one piece of advice or something you want to leave the listeners with?
Do it. Do it. Feel the fear and do it anyway.
Yeah. Love that. Well, thank you so much, Steph.
Thank you for having me. A pleasure. Thank you so much. If you're still with us, we really appreciate you. So Thank you all for having me.
Yay, that was so good.
Woohoo! Should we grab some food?
Yeah,
Have we got time?
Do it. Yeah. Let's do it. And that's a wrap on this episode of Confessions of a Conscious CEO. I hope you got a lot out of this episode. If you did, it would mean the world if you subscribed on YouTube, Apple Podcasts, or Spotify and left a rating and review to help more conscious founders discover this show. It would also make my day if you shared this episode to your Instagram stories or LinkedIn and tag me at Selena Ho or at Confessions of a Conscious CEO. Always cheering you on, and I cannot wait to see what you built from this.